Hi, I'm Kurt Mitchell, and welcome to the Van Halen Guitar Method. Before we get started talking about Eddie and all of his equipment and all the stuff we're going to cover, I want to tune up and get that out of the way. I'm tuned to half a step down. Most of the stuff that he's done throughout the career of Van Halen is half a step down, okay? So if you want to tune to your tuner, tune your whole guitar half a step down, that's going to probably be easier than what we're about to do. What I'm going to do is give you an A or a fifth string, open fifth string. I want you to tune your guitar to my A. I'll give you enough of it so that you can come back and keep checking it after you tune the rest of your guitar. Tune to my A, tune the rest of your guitar, come check it again, and we'll be in tune throughout the lesson, okay? Let's get started. I'll give you an A. Here we go. What we're going to do on this tape, we're not going to concentrate on songs so much as the technique that Eddie used to play, that he uses in his approach to his playing. We're going to talk about the gear, starting with the very first record and on through For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. We'll talk about the stomp boxes and his rack effects and all this other stuff. Let's begin with the guitars. Back in 77, 78, which is, I mean, quite a while ago, 12, 13 years ago, what he was doing was he was playing a Les Paul for a fat sound, but he didn't like the way it felt, right? So he started playing Strat, but nobody liked the thin sound of the Strat. So he took the humbucking pickup out of the Les Paul, put it in a Stratocaster, and it's become the day's standard rock guitar. And basically this is what you have. He had a Strat-style guitar with one pickup in it, one volume knob, and that's it. He had a tremolo that wasn't a Floyd Rose clamp. It was an ordinary Strat bar, and he used to, I believe he used to oil the nut so that the strings would slip back and forth and the guitar wouldn't go out of tune, enabling him to use that bar, because once you play a Strat, if you've ever played a clamped guitar and then played a non-clamped guitar, you can understand what I'm saying. As soon as you touch the bar on a Strat without a clamp, it goes out of tune. The fact that the Floyd Rose clamp came out just afforded him more flexibility, because you can't knock one out of tune once you've got the strings stretched out. Let's talk about the pedals he used to use. He was using, on the first record now, and through like the first 2 or 3 records, he's using a pedal board that had a bunch of stomp boxes plugged up to it. He had a phase shifter, an MXR phase shifter, an MXR flanger. I've heard that he had a pedal EQ. He had 2 tape delays, 2 what they call echo plexes, and he had 1 Univox tape delays. So he had 3 delays, and he had little buttons that would turn them on and off in his signal. And that's about it. You know, they were duct taped to a piece of wood. And people laugh. I mean, I remember the first article I read of them, people are laughing at him, you know, because he's got this duct tape pedal board on the floor. It would look like junk. And then of course, he plugged in and it was over. But this is what I got dialed up right now is much like the first album sound. We'll run through some of the effects a bit. Oh, let's talk about the amp first. The amp that he was using back then, and it's gone through. He's used a Marshall head through most of his career until the last album, I believe. He's used a Marshall head. Now he's using either Soldanos or 5150s or a combination of the two. I'm not quite sure anymore what he's using, but I believe from the last article I read he was using 5150s, his own amp, which is sort of a Soldano, with a resonance knob on it, what they call resonance. And anyways, but until then he was playing an old Marshall head. I've got one that's very similar to it. I got a 69 Plexi sitting here. When they say Plexi, they're talking about the plastic on it, right? Let's take a look at it and I'll show it to you. This is the same type of Marshall head that Eddie was using back then, and I'm sure he still has. It's a 69 Super Lead, and Plexi. Plexi just simply means that there's a piece of plastic here. This gold stuff is plastic instead of anodized aluminum like the one on the top. They're collector's items now, and they have a unique sound to them. All the older amps have a unique sound to them in that they hand-wired transformers, and all of them were different, and so every amp had its own characteristics. He had a guy named Jose modify his amps so that they were cascaded, so he could get some more gain out of them. And then he used a voltage regulator, or a variac, to run the voltage from 110, 120 is what you get out of the wall, up to like 140 or 50 volts for that first album. And had it modified so that the tubes would melt because the fuse wouldn't blow. So, I mean, he was actually taking some chances with his amp. I want to show you where we're miking the cabinet. This cabinet is simply for us to have Marshalls in the set. We have our cabinet in an ISO booth, and it is ripping loud. And so we have it sealed up, and I don't want to go in there and mess with that. But I want to use this cabinet to show you where I'm putting the mic. There's only one microphone on this sound. A lot of people mess with mics, and they throw them around the room, blah, 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 this and that. One microphone on old Celestion speakers. They make reissues of the old Celestions now, which sound like the old ones, which is a good thing because the new ones are a little bit too bitey. 70 watts are too bitey. 30 watt Celestions. Let me show you where we're putting the mic. Here's a speaker. We've circled it here for you. What we're doing is we're taking a Shure 57, SM57, Beta 57, which is with the standard for miking guitar amps, and we're moving it off center, not dead center, but off to the right a little bit. And sometimes people angle them so that they're at an angle. And I usually just put it straight on and put it right up against the grill cloth so I can get as close to sound as I can. So basically, this is the sound we got. Now, I have some reverb. I have a reverb that has a delay on one side and a reverb on the other. On the first record, there was a lot of reverb effects on the guitar, and it's what made it sound so huge and live. So in subsequent albums, he's backed away from that, and his sound's a little bit closer and a lot more studio sounding. It had a lot more. The first album had a lot more treble on it too.